How do I play beautiful chords like that? Well, there are 10 essential chord hacks that I use to take ordinary major and minor chords and make them sound amazing. And these hacks are so simple that anyone could play them regardless of their playing level. All right, hack number 1 through 4, we're gonna look at major chords and I'm gonna show you how to transform these. For hacks 5 through 7, I'm gonna show you how to transform your minor chords. And for hacks 8 through 10, I'm gonna show you how to transform dominant chords, which you're gonna see a lot in jazz and blues. All right, starting with hack number 1, let's say you're playing a chord progression and you're going C major to F major. Well, instead, you could play it like this. I think this sounds so much more beautiful, and it's actually a very simple trick. What I'm doing is I'm taking each of my chords, like the C major chord, and I'm adding a G major on top of this chord. So if you play a G major on the top, you end up with some additional notes, the B and the D, that you can add to your chord. And so the trick here is to go up a fifth from the root, the C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and play a major chord on the G. And so you get these additional notes that you can add to your chord. So when I played my chord progression, you may have noticed I played it like this. And it's basically a C major and a G major, and I'm just adding a little C in the middle to add some cluster, okay? It's basically a G major chord over a C major chord. And then I did this on my F chord. When I went to F, instead of this, I played that, okay? And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm playing an F major, and then on that fifth, the C, I'm playing a C major chord, and then I'm basically clustering a lot of the notes together, okay? So here's my F major, here's my C major, and then you play them together, and it sounds beautiful. Now, this turns the chords into what are called major 9 chords. When you add a B and a D to this chord, that's a major 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That's the technical name for each of these chords. All right, before I teach you the next hack, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, for hack number 2, we're gonna use the same chord progression, C major to F major, but instead, you can play it like this. I love these chords because it has this ominous kind of open sound to it. And again, it's actually really simple to play. What I'm doing is I'm taking each of my chords, like the C major, and on top of the C major, I'm playing what's called an A sus2. Okay, so if you think of like an A, like major chord, that would be an A major. Well, if you take the third and you sus it, or you suspend it down to the 2, you have an A sus2. And so if you play an A sus2 on a C major, you get this really amazing sound. So the trick here is to play a sus2 chord on the 6th note from the root. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's the A, play an A sus2 over the C. And I did the same thing on my F chord. Instead of playing F major, I played an F, but I did a D sus2 on the top. And then I voiced the chords a little differently. I took all these notes and I kind of spread them out down here, but it's the exact same notes. Look at this chord. It's a D sus2, and I'm just inverting it down with the F chord on the bottom. By the way, these chords are called major 13 chords, and the reason for this is that on that C chord, if you keep skipping up thirds, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, there's an A in this chord, so we call it a 13 chord. All right, hack number 3 is one of my favorites. Again, we're using that simple major chord progression, C to F, and you can transform it like this. Now, this chord hack is amazing because you can add so many notes to your chords, and it sounds amazing, but it's actually not very hard to play when you break it down. And so here's what I'm doing. I'm taking my chords, like my C major, and I'm playing a very interesting chord called an A sus2 sus4. So it's a lot like the chord we played earlier on the A sus2, but I'm adding a sus4 to the chord. And remember that when you have a major chord like an A major, if you play a sus4, you just move this note up. So you have a sus4 and a sus2 on top of the C major chord, and it creates a gorgeous sound. Okay, so the hack here is to play a sus2, sus4 chord on the 6th note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 above the root. And when I played the example earlier, I just spread all these notes out. So on the C major chord, I played it like that, okay? And then on the F major chord, I clustered them together like this. Okay? But I did the same thing here. I'm basically playing an F major chord, I'm going up to the 6th, and then I'm playing a sus2, sus4 chord on the 6th, and then I'm kind of spreading the notes out here, so I'm basically playing it like that. So you can do this with your chords. You can cluster notes together. You can even double some of the notes, like I'm doubling these two here, I'm doubling the C. You can have fun voicing the notes of your chords. All right, hack number 4 is our last chord hack for major chords, and this is definitely the most advanced way to reharmonize your major chords. So let's say you're playing a C to an F chord progression. Well, you could play the same progression like this. These are super beautiful pro-sounding chords that look really hard to play, but again, they're actually very simple if you break them down. So what I'm doing is I'm taking each of my chords, like C major, and I'm adding a B minor 7 chord on top of the C major chord, okay? And a minor 7 chord is basically like a minor chord, and the 7th is gonna be like a whole step down from the root, okay? So I'm playing a B minor 7 chord on the C, which you might think, Johnny, how on earth could that work together? But it actually creates a beautiful chord called a major 13 sharp 11 chord, and it's a chord that many pro musicians use. So the trick here is to play a minor 7 chord on the 7th note above the root. Or a simpler way to think of it is just to go down a half step to the B, and you're going to play a minor 7th chord on that note. And so if you go back to the chord progression that I played this on my C chord, and if you analyze the chord, it's just basically a B minor 7 with a C, and I'm kind of crunching the notes together. And then on the F chord, I played it like this. Super beautiful. What is this? It's an F major, and I'm playing an E minor 7 chord on top of that, and then I'm crunching a lot of the notes together to get this clustered sound. By the way, I wanted to mention that you can download and print the lesson sheet music. You can also change the key of this lesson with the click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below. All right, we are on hack number 5, and for this hack, we're gonna look at minor chords. And we're gonna use a very simple chord progression, C minor to F minor. All right, ready for this hack? We're gonna play the same chords, but make them sound way better. Here it is. All right, I love this sound because it has this dark, kind of jazzy sound to it. And again, it sounds very professional, but it's not very hard to play when you understand what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my minor chords, like a C minor, and I'm adding a D and an A to this chord. Okay? So this is called an open fifth or a D5. It's basically like a D major chord, but you remove the third, and I'm playing it over a C minor, okay? So the hack here is to play an open fifth on the second note above the root, the D, and you're gonna play it on the C minor chord. So let's go back to the chord progression. Remember earlier I played this on the C chord? Well, it's a C minor, and I'm playing the D and the A, and I'm just moving these notes down, and then I'm doubling the G, okay? And then I did the same thing on the F chord. Instead of playing F minor like this, I played it like this, okay? Super beautiful, and I'm doing the same thing. F minor, the G is the second, so the open fifth, and I'm gonna move these notes down, G and D, and here are the notes from the chord, and then I just played it kind of in an open way like this. By the way, these chords are called minor 6-9 chords. It's basically a minor triad, we're adding the 6th, and then the 9th, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. By the way, if you want to add more notes to your chords and you really want to understand how to do this in chord progressions, we have a really good course on this called our Piano Chord Extensions course. You'll find this in our Level 5 Foundations Learning track. And if you click on the course, you basically learn everything that you need to know about adding notes to chords, whether they're major chords, minor chords, dominant chords. And I not only show you the notes that you can add, but then how to arrange the notes on the piano, meaning all of the various various combinations of notes that pro musicians use when they're playing tunes, how to use these chords in chord progressions, how to connect the various notes of each chord. So I'll put a link to that learning track below. All right, for hack number 6, we're going to use the same chord progression, C minor to F minor, and here's how it's going to sound. Now, I love these chords because they're used in styles like modern gospel and neo-soul, and again, they look kind of complicated, but they're not that hard to play. So what I'm doing is I'm taking each of my minor chords, like C minor, and I'm adding a G minor on top of this chord, okay? And so the trick here is to play a minor chord on the 5th above the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're gonna play a G minor on the C minor chord. And so if you go back to the way I played these chords, I played my C minor like this. Once again, it's simply a C minor and a G minor, and I'm doubling the E flat, okay? Same with the F. I did not play F minor like this, I played it like this. Okay, really beautiful. And once again, I have my F minor, I'm playing a C minor on the top, and then I'm just spreading the notes out to get this beautiful sound. Now these chords are called minor 9 chords, and they're basically minor chords. We're adding the 7th, which comes from the minor scale, the C natural minor scale, and then the D, which is a 9th interval, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, above the root. All right, hack number 7 is my all-time favorite hack for minor chords. I think you're gonna love the way this sounds. So we're starting with the same chord progression, C minor to F minor, and here's the hack. So we are adding a ton of color to our minor chords. Again, pro musicians use these chords, but the principle behind the chords is actually quite simple. So what we're doing is we're taking our C minor chord and we're adding a B flat major on top of the C minor chord, okay? And so the hack here is to play a major chord on the flat 7 of the original chord, the C minor. What's the flat 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the major scale, and you flat it. You could also think of it as just a whole step down from the root, okay? So I'm playing a major chord on the flat 7, C minor on the bottom, and it sounds gorgeous when you arrange the notes together. So if you go back to the chord progression that I played the C minor like this. Okay? And it's basically just a B flat major tucked in with the notes of C minor, but I'm clustering a lot of the notes together, okay? So you may not even see that there's a little B flat chord hidden inside of this minor chord, okay? And so you can get some really nice sounds when you cluster them together. Same with the F chord. I'm playing an F minor, and I'm playing a major chord on the flat 7. It's an E flat major, and then I'm clustering the notes together like that, okay? There's the E flat major, there's the F minor. All right, for hack number 8, you're gonna learn how to transform your dominant 7 chords. And these are chords that you would typically have in a blues, okay, or in a jazz tune. All right, so the progression that we're gonna use is a very simple one. We're gonna use a C7, and then we're gonna go to an F7. And if you're new to the piano, an F7, you could play it in root position like this. I'm just playing an inversion of this chord like this, okay? Now, how do you transform these chords with the chord hack? Well, you could play the exact same chords like this. These are super hip sounding chords, and once again, they're very simple to play when you understand the chord hack. So here's what I'm doing. I'm taking my dominant 7 chord, like my C7, I'm gonna remove the 5th. This is very common that jazz musicians do this because they're gonna add some other notes that oftentimes don't sound very good with the 5th. Okay, so we're just gonna remove that 5th, and then on the top, here's the magic, we're gonna play a D major chord on the C7 chord. You hear that? Okay? And so the trick here is to play a major chord on the 2nd note, or the 2 above the root. So come up to the D, play a D major on the C7 chord. So let's go back to our chord progression. We had C7 like this, but we played it like this. You see the notes here? D major, C7. We're just combining the notes together. And then the F chord is super cool. Instead of playing an F7 like this, we played this. Okay, very jazzy chord. Check that one out. Super cool. So what the heck am I playing? Well, it's an F7 chord. Get rid of the fifth and play a major chord on the G. Okay? And then I just spread the notes out. I took these 3 notes out and I put them down here, and then I put my G major on the top. There it is. See that? Super cool. All right, for hack number 9, we're going to use the same chord progression, C7 to F7, and check out the transformation. Now you might use these chords if you were playing a tune in the key of A flat and you had like a C7, which is like a 3 chord, and then an F7, which is like a 6 chord. You might go something like that. And once again, what I'm doing is actually quite simple when you break it down. So here's the hack. You're basically going to take your dominant 7 chord, my C7, I'm going to remove the 5th like I did before, and then the magic is you're going to play an A flat major chord on the C7 chord. Okay? And so the trick here is to play a major chord on the flat 6. So this is the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're thinking of the major scale there, and you flat it, okay? So play an A flat major on a C7, and you get some super cool sounding notes. So let's go back to our chord progression. We had a C7, we played it like this, okay? And if you look at the notes, I've got all the notes from my A flat major here, and then I also have the notes from my C7 here, okay? Super cool spread out sound. And then on the F chord, instead of playing that, I played that, okay? So it's an F7 chord, right? And then I'm playing a D flat major, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 6. There's my D flat major on the F7 chord. And then I'm just spreading the notes out like this, okay? So my D flat is here, and then my F7 is here. By the way, the chords that I'm playing in the right hand are called upper structure triads, and we have a really good course on this topic if you want to go more in depth on all of the different types of upper structure triads that you can use on dominant 7th chords. I break it down in this course. I show you how to use them on chord progressions and in tunes, so I'll put a link to that below. All right, are you ready for the final chord hack? For this one, you're gonna learn one of my all-time favorite chords. And for this one, we're actually gonna use a slightly different chord progression because usually you would not play this chord back to back on different chords. So for the chord progression, we're gonna do it C7, and then we're just gonna resolve it to an ordinary F major. So we're not gonna play 2 dominant chords here, okay? You ready for the transformation? Here it is. So I love this sound. It's used a lot in jazz piano, especially if there's an intro on a tune and you'll hear the jazz pianist play a run up the piano, and then maybe they start the tune in F like that. This is the same chord as that run. So here's the trick, here's the hack. Basically, you're gonna play your C7 chord, get rid of the 5th, and you're gonna play an F sharp minor on the C7 chord, okay? And so the trick here is to play a minor chord on the sharp 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's an F, F sharp, play an F sharp minor on the C7 chord. So if you go back to our chord progression, instead of playing an ordinary C7, we're gonna play that, okay? And if you really analyze the notes here, we have all of the notes of a C7, okay? But then you've got these 3 additional notes on the top. That's the F sharp minor, okay? And it has a beautiful sound. And then we just simply resolved it to an F major 9 chord, which you learned earlier is one of the techniques you can use on a major chord. Remember earlier I said you could play an F major and a C major. It's gonna be that technique. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the lesson, please let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have step-by-step courses for all playing levels, live learning events, an awesome community, so be sure to check it out, and I'll see you in the next one.